Well, we told you we'll be having a discussion on many other related things, but more so on the individuals, 3 of them at least, who are before courts, and we all know what has transpired in court, but the issues of attempted coup, no, I'm told that the media, we tried to put all that together, but, you know, related activities to subvert the structure of the state of our republic. And then also we'll talk about the president at 8 p.m. yesterday, our time, yes, gave a beautiful speech. I listened to it. I watched it on YouTube. It was beautiful. And you look at the content of how we're using technology and we're improving our environment and education and related issues about the well-being of the ordinary Ghanaian and how Africa needs to be. Great speech. I loved it, and I know we're going to have some word on it. But let me just introduce to you discussants this morning. Eric Chum is a lead spokesperson for government, and he's with government's communication team. Eric, good morning to you. It's been a while. I've hosted you. It's a privilege.
Good morning, thank you.
Yeah, I always love your kaftans.
It's always a privilege to be here.
Thank you. Wherever you do them, please give me a nice order. And then also, a man I've spoken to not in a while, Nii Lante Van der Poel, Member of Parliament for the Odododio constituency. He's going unopposed. He went unopposed in the in the primaries. How are you?
I'm blessed.
I saw you endorsing, is it Kosinyantechi the other day? Oh, the
really?
GFA election.
Really?
Who was it? Sorry, who was it?
Fred Papo.
Fred Papo.
Yeah.
Fred Papo. You're saying so many things about him.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the most respected people when it comes to football administration in this country. He's gone through the mill. He's a very decent guy. He's one of the people I can say much more credible and has integrity when it comes to football management. And I also think that he has very wonderful human relations and also knows the ins and outs of football very well, much more than all the other aspirants. Well, I have my own brother contesting, but
who's your brother?
Joseph is my brother. He's my cousin.
Okay.
But then I think that at this particular time in our football history, Fred Papo stands tall above all the rest. Let me also say that it's not just a matter of electing a president. If we don't change the structure, whoever we put on it will still be engulfed in the sort of autocratic and the tendency to do things as they will that existed before.
But it looks like the structure has been.
No, I've not seen the normalization committee has not really.
Executive committee.
They have not really set up the structure. You see, the whole thing has started on the wrong foot. What we needed to do is to set up a commission that will overhaul and review the regulations and the structure of the. That's fine. And then when you have done that, then you can now elect people to fit into that jacket. But then when you have this omnibus thing, the status quo remains, and you elect people and wanting the people to be angels to supervise over a bad structure, it's not possible. So the system will corrupt them.
So to you, we're back to ground. Have you been following the GFA elections?
I have, actually. It's quite interesting that I actually also have a football team.
Ah, you do?
Really?
Yeah,
At which level?
So you have a
second division. It's called
division.
Eastern Eagles. The second division.
They are
so
based,
I have
based where?
in Bososo.
Bososo.
Yeah, so I'm trying to track my way slowly through the whole football conversation.
Politics and football tends to go together.
Well, I mean, it's an interest that I've always had. Okay. I always say that I'm a disappointed footballer. So I'm living my life through my son, my 5-year-old son. Okay. And I'm hoping that he will take the reins and make me proud.
Why don't you make him a weightlifter instead of a footballer?
Well, I mean, I think he will get there. He has the natural physique to lift weights. I mean, as for me, for the weightlifting, it's just a hobby, a pastime for me. It's the only way that I can
but you're well built too.
And but Nii used to do that as well.
Yeah, I used to do it.
Yeah, but naturally.
I was once the president of the Weightlifting Association. But when you get old, you know, sometimes your interest changes.
All right. There's an interesting discussion around the 3 individuals who are before court, and the Attorney General is overseeing this. In courts, we know that they were not given bail. They're still in BNI custody. We're talking the 3 individuals, and the main protagonist in there is Dr. Frederick Yao McPalm. We all do know ultimately what transpired. The Daily Guide is reporting about how they've been, that he has a history, especially on social media, with an organization called the Take Action Ghana, who's like a virtual pressure group, and had been saying all sorts of comments since even the Mahama administration till now, why the 2 parties should just go on, be looting and sharing, and so seem to come to a head on that subject. And then Dr. Vladimir Ntwi also has been saying about how you just don't need some few weapons, weaponry to conduct a coup, etc. What would be your first observation on all this? Since the weekend we've had this back and forth on the subject.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to my senior, and then of course to yourself, and then to all the viewers this morning. Nowadays, a lot of people also monitor the programs online, so good morning to everybody. Well, I have a view on this thing, and I'm sure that sometimes, and it's almost become a cliche where we say that we shouldn't politicize it, and it should be like some sort of a national discourse. Because there are people like this everywhere. I mean, I'm not going to try and prejudge the outcome, but there are people who are essentially anti-establishment, and therefore would take on courses and actions that would, in effect, destabilize a country. You have what we call lone wolves who have perpetuated acts that have brought some kind of, if you like, instability in some parts of the country. In other parts of the world, people have assassinated certain presidents in areas where you thought that they would have better security architecture than we have. You've had individuals being able to perpetrate some of these things. So the first reaction from my part is not to necessarily discount the effect or how serious this is, but one, commend the security authorities that we have to have been able to now do a surveillance on the various suspected, if you like, alleged troublemakers, and then gone through a process to come to a point where they feel that it's about time that we rein these guys in so that it doesn't really fester and then degenerate into something that we would all now come and say that why didn't the agencies take action? And you see, it's become almost like a chicken and egg conversation where damned if the security agencies do something about these things by being proactive. And then when it happens, you're saying that we have a situation where in some people's mind, they've created a certain perception that we are living in a jungle. It's almost as if that this is a banana republic and there's a total breakdown of security, just for political expediency's sake. So for me, I think that we need to commend the security agencies and the work that they have done thus far. And then also, even if you listen to the various, if you like, in this country we have a lot of experts, but even if you listen to those security experts, the number one thing that actually follows through is the fact that the citizenry ourselves should be switched on in terms of being aware of our surroundings and our environment, and be able to, if you like, find out if things are going on around us that are not right, so that we can communicate and interact with the other agencies responsible to make sure that these things, that is how policing is done. That's how you allow for a system to evolve in terms of security. I mean, elsewhere, if you're walking through a particular neighborhood for 2 or 3 times, some old woman in the window somewhere would alert the police that...
You mean in the developed countries?
Exactly, you know. And I heard something which was a bit funny, but there was even a conversation around colors, where if you're not careful, and also this is red, then that will make it extremely difficult for the police to find a suspect who is wearing red. But this is not red, you understand? And that we should just switch on, should be very aware of our surroundings and everything, because we live in a sub-region that, as far as I'm concerned, has had issues to do with a lot of instability. We've had conversation around small arms, the porous nature of our borders, and the sort of things that have transpired around our sub-region, and even internally. You know, so even when you look at this particular story where there's a conversation around the locally manufactured arms, for instance, which is emanating from a certain part of the country that has had a certain historical background when it comes to tribal conflict. You know, so we can deal with some of these things, but by and large, I mean, this is something that I think that we should commend our security agencies for. And then also be minded by the fact that we've all accepted that we want to be governed by the tenets of rule of law. And democracy should take its course. People should be given an opportunity to go through the legal process to either absolve themselves from the charges that have been given, or if they're found culpable, the law should deal with them. But this whole commentary as to if there was a threat or they had a capacity and all of this, it's neither here nor there, because even conspiracy, sitting together in a room and trying to conspire and the kind of things that you say can be detrimental to the existence of a state like the one that we have. So for me, I think that we shouldn't take it lightly. Let the process, I mean, take its due course, and then let's see what happens.
Mr. Nii Lante van der Poy, as you make your initial comments, I would want to pose it. Is it that maybe government, following the statement, didn't get it right, and so we're here in the public communication, the perception? If you take or you observe what the communication now is, looks like a top government communicator like, or spokesperson like Eric Chum, we'll move away from the phrase trying to, is it topple the presidency or get close to the presidency in that regard. I'm just paraphrasing. For example, we have the Daily Guide and the Daily Statesman. We all know where ideologically their contents tend to lean towards. Alajo bomb on both papers. What did we not get right in trying to, you know, pose it to all this? As you add your initial comments.
Well, thank you very much, and let me say, I'm also pleased to say good morning to my very good friend and brother, Eric, and also to my constituents. And let me take the opportunity to wish the new patriotic party in my constituency the best of luck as they go to Congress this weekend to elect a much more...
Are you contesting?
To elect...
In his of course
No. In one of the weekend contests?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No.
He's contesting the constituency where they have a city MP, so he has to wait until January.
Okay, go ahead.
Fantiakwa South, eh?
Campaign manager.
No, he's contesting against a very good friend of mine and a colleague in parliament.
So his name has popped up in your conversation.
I should be worried.
Okay.
I should be worried.
Okay.
He's my friend and contesting against a colleague. So I don't really know where my alliance will be.
There's nothing for him to be worried about.
Okay. It's just a contest, you say?
I wish them the best of luck, and I would say that I followed with keen interest discussions and their campaign so far, and I say it's been very untidy. The sort of things they are throwing at each other on Facebook and the rest is very much unexpected, but very welcome to me, because it's giving me a lot of arsenals for the fight ahead after they've been able to elect a much more beatable and very, let me say, welcome opponent. Any of the four they will elect will lose the elections though, but then I think I will want to have a much more relaxed fight in 2020. So I wish them well. We shall be there to offer them our message of solidarity, and we hope that after that we shall have a very congenial atmosphere to conduct our politics in the constituency. I also want to thank my chiefs and people for the confidence reposed in me, and all the party supporters, my executive especially, and the delegates, for returning me on the post and to asking me to contest again for the elections. I sit here today very worried, and I'm very happy about the question you posed. Let me comment, Eric, from the tone and the sort of style he's taken to address this issue. Is maybe possibly the only person I've heard so far in this discourse since last week discussing this issue from the side of government who has taken this posture of having us take a reflective mood of the whole situation. But then on my background as I sit here, I've seen what right from day one was thrown at us as a country.
What was thrown at us?
Alleged attempted coup.
Have you seen the statement?
No, but there's no mention of that.
If you say,
lie by lie,
if you say,
as they call it,
if you say that people are engaged in acts to destabilize the state, what does it mean?
It could be anything.
No,
Oh, it can mean anything.
It could be.
It can mean anything, Eric. It can mean anything. And then you say that it's focused on the presidency.
Yeah.
So what do you mean if you say it's focused on the presidency? It's targeted at the presidency. That's the word they do, targeted at the presidency. What does it mean? So I would say that if there is something that the government has not done, and this government has been bedeviled with it, it's poor communication when it comes to issues of national interest. They become too political, they become too defensive in their issuance of statements on different issues when they come up in this country. Let me say that the Minister of Information, very much unexpected of him, but then I'm not surprised because of the sort of posture he has assumed since he was made a minister.
Oh, come on, that's a bit unfair.
I've told him that if he's not careful...
You met him and you told him that?
I told him in Parliament, I said, look, my brother, sometimes you should be careful about the way you are made to make comments and to throw things, the information you throw out.
He's made, it's not by his nature.
No, I've been in government before.
Because
sometimes
the statement, the second paragraph says the joint operation is to neutralize an elaborate plot targeted at the presidency and with the ultimate aim of destabilizing the country.
But what is wrong with that statement?
What does it portray? What does it portend? What does it mean?
You tell me. You
what does it
with
mean?
GBC before.
I'm saying, what does it mean?
What's at GBC?
What is said that it targeted at the presidency with a potent of what? Destabilizing the state.
Yes.
It's a coup you are portraying to.
No.
What does it mean?
But it's conjecturing from your
part. I'm saying that. What does it mean? Infer. Give me the inference. What does it mean, Eric?
Listen.
What does it mean? We are part of government communication. Tell me what that means.
If you ask me a question, I'm not allowed to answer.
No, fine. Tell me. I'm giving you the freedom. Tell me what it means.
Destabilizing the state could be anything.
Let's go to the dictionary and find out the meaning. We woke
up. We had an issue of a constitutional issue where we woke up one morning and we had lost a certain president. You understand? Where you now have a situation where for a few hours we had to essentially
when the president died,
no,
the state destabilized.
He said I should talk. You see, and I'm saying that even that, there's always some level of tension and angst. It's just that we have to pat ourselves on the back that even the backdrop of living in a sub-region where something of this nature would have been extremely difficult to deal with, we're able to deal with it constitutionally very well. Now, let's take it for one reason or the other. These people or anybody at all attacks a senior government official or somebody at the presidency or goes to attack a national security installation or something, it has the potency to destabilize the country. So for you to say that anything, yes,
let me help you.
So for you to now sit here and
I just
suggest that because you're discounting right? And it's a threat for everybody.
Because I'm a communicator.
I remember a point where somebody came to Parliament and was just shouting, right? And the security personnel in Parliament had to bundle the person out.
And what does that?
Right? And parliamentarians came out saying that their security, you see, when it's on the other foot, it's also it's expedient for you. Parliamentarians came out and said that, well, they think that even at a point, every member of parliament should be given an escort and a police officer. Let me say this. That did not have the potential.
The right I gave you to talk.
So destabilizing. So this is what I read from the dictionary. It says the word destabilization can be applied to a wide variety of contexts, such as attempts to undermine political, military, and economic power.
Economic what?
Power.
Undermine
political, military, and economic power.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm saying that Kojo Okonkwo with his background, what the people did, if he has couched the word with the purpose of what disturbing the peace of the state, what does that mean? Would that have created a lot of controversy as we have today?
Am I supposed to answer?
Listen, you know,
I'm not teaching him his job, but I'm saying that.
No, the question is rhetorical.
Yes, I'm saying that when you hold sensitive position, you see, the peace and the security of this state is entrusted in the hands of the government. And so government must always be economical with the language they use in order not to create fear and panic. You manage the country. When you're managing a country, you are managing the communication, the security, the peace of the country. So words that come out of you as a government must be very, you know, sort of the word, you must choose the word rightly. If you're not careful, you choose a word which conveniently will help your cause and your intention and for your selfish aggrandizement. But at the end of it all, will create a situation that will make others live in trauma and fear.
And you claim that's what the statement did?
Yes, the first statement
so you're saying they didn't mean the implications that way?
Yes. Let me
draw this conclusion because
of the paragraph you just read. And then subsequently, what have we seen? The charges that have gone to court and the change in the tone and posture of government communicators like Eric will tell you that upon reflection, they themselves have come to the realization that the words they used in the earlier publication was not appropriate, was a bit too high, and has raised the tension and the fear and panic causing fear and panic in the country. Let me come to this. And that is the reason why all these security experts in the country have come out to lambast government.
It's not true.
Oh, please.
It's not true.
Who?
It is not true.
Who?
A lot of different
the only people who have spoken for the government are Ibad Ibrahim and Enjudanso.
But they are not.
Yes.
Not.
You said the only people who have spoken for
the government on this issue, Ibad Ibrahim and Enjudanso. You talk to all security experts, people, ex-soldiers, ex-military officers, intelligence officers, and they've all condemned the tone of the letter. They've condemned the posture of government right from day one. Two, I will say this, in 15 months of surveillance, including monitoring WhatsApp platform, and Facebook comments of somebody who, in time past, has taken a posture against governance in this country, has been very critical of government in this country since the days of the NDC government. It should give you some sense of responsibility in what you say and the conclusions you draw. You understand me? So I'm saying that if months of surveillance will only give us this result, for us to conclude that these people have a subversionist intention, it becomes a problem.
And you're saying they don't have the intention? You're saying the government and its security apparatus could have monitored them in such a way that the words that will come out of government for which they had been arrested wouldn't have come to this?
Yes. And then if you are going to conclusively make a statement, a definite statement, that this is their intentions, then where they got to with their surveillance, they were midstream. They haven't gotten anywhere to warrant that conclusion.
Listen,
let me say that government was too much in a hurry to create that environment, and we saw it under President Kufuor. It happened. The same thing happened under President Mahama. Such a similar situation happened in this country, but the way it was managed, nobody even in this country heard. You remember the Burkinabe arms dealer thing? And the sort of arms they brought in, which the quantity and the sort of arms which were seized in that operation 10 times more than what we've seen. This one, kitchen knife and long knife and
have you seen an official
screwdriver and all empty?
Do we have the picture of this one?
Empty cartridges.
I think empty cartridges.
It's not fair. It doesn't have a picture.
Why?
I mean,
we saw the cartridge cases. We saw the locally manufactured pistols. And then we saw a kitchen knife.
From where?
Didn't you see a kitchen knife?
Where did you see that from?
That's not the official.
Where did you see it from?
Oh, I'm sorry. Not the troll. Not the troll.
No. That's what I'm saying.
Eric, point us where we saw that picture. Apart from what was published by the Daily Guard, the Statesman, and the rest.
Because there's a particular one that clearly looks like that one was.
But that is a figment of your imagination.
And I withdraw.
You see,
please, that picture, even if I saw it, I've never.
Okay, let's go to the statement. Let's go for the statement.
No,
I gave you an opportunity.
You've been speaking for 15 minutes. No, it's not fair.
Okay. Let's even go to a statement what was issued by Kojo Ponkrumah. And let's look at the things that he stated were seen.
I'll tell you.
Okay, let me tell you something. One.
He said you got it all wrong. The communication.
This whole idea of trying to denigrate the person of the messenger. Oh. It's a tactic of the NDC.
I'm talking about the message he sent out.
Political community, and that, let's deride him and let's make sure that everything
But it's not going to work. But again, it's also important to state that this issue is still unraveling, right? And so for you to even sit here and pretend that you have all the facts without basically perjuring yourself, because the issue has actually gone through a court process. We have to be extremely careful. It's still unraveling. As I sit here, it's come out that some security personnel have actually been also arrested, helping.
The information minister has confirmed that.
Helping with the investigation. We do not have the full facts, but it's also imperative that we also have a responsibility. Are you saying that it's the responsibility of government, for instance, to come and show us pictures of what do you call it? All the other equipment that they had put together and the chemicals they put together that was meant to be used for explosives, for instance. Is that responsible? Is that what a responsible government should do, to be teaching people how to put these things together? So anybody who says that they've seen an official picture that states that these are the arms should come and tell us, essentially.
So the pictures are
no, but that is what I'm saying. I mean, I haven't seen an official picture to that effect. But even if that is the case, it also goes on to list the number of arms and ammunitions that were actually seized, and the sort of things that are happening to a point where certain people are going to a certain shooting range to test the weapons and all of those. And I'm saying that, you see, you can discount it. I mean, for political expediency's sake.
Ask Eric.
You see,
and this whole idea, this
whole idea, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with the communication. Again, you see, this whole idea to create this impression that it was an attempt to divert attention on certain, because most of your communicators have used
and you've accepted
right?
it.
And it's ridiculous. It's preposterous to start with. Because listen, you have a situation where, for instance, people are, because to divert the attention from economic hardship, for instance.
That's what you've been doing.
Listen, if you sit at home right now, today, you have absolutely no money in your pocket, and the government comes out and issues a statement like that, does it mean the money is going to come into your pocket? It's ridiculous. And what is it? What is the interest for government, for instance, to
Dr. Vladimir Intridanso appeared on PM Express, and he was very emphatic that we should never downplay the magnitude of this.
One individual.
Two, he says that even the area of weapons, whether small in number, in the type they are, etc.
It's enough to destabilize the state.
You don't need you don't need an armory.
Yes.
According to the statement, to destabilize a state.
But the thing is that, you see,
and it looks like the deputy minister also of defense seems
let me state this.
But do you think?
Listen. Hypothetically, something happens to a head of state, and then the supporters or that particular head of state or government actually attributes that to, for instance, the opposition, right? Even though it's a lone wolf, a lone ranger. Do you know the kind of implication, the chaos that would actually come, political implications that would bring to this national security issue? So we can't downplay these things. And I'm saying that if you look at the sequence of we all even admitting that this individual has been bashing both an NDC government and an NPP government, these are individuals that you can find anywhere in the world who are
establishment, who are anti-system, who feel that everything is gone awry in a particular state, and they have a certain, it's almost like a crusader mentality that I'm the one who's going to come and do this. And we have to be very careful not to even allow other people to develop certain, if you like, copycat tendencies. So for me, I would commend the security agencies. I would not discount.
This is the picture.
Is that what?
The kitchen knife.
Exactly, but that is not
the official. This is not the official picture.
This is a, what do you call it? Like a foul photo of something that some people have brought.
This is not official. This is not official.
But go and read the statement, and it tells you the number of weapons and the number of arms and ammunition that was found.
This person, you have it.
What do you?
You have one.
I don't have it.
So do you want to disable it?
I don't have it.
You have.
I don't.
I don't.
You have. How do you know that?
And when you have,
no harassment. No harassment.
No, he's my friend.
No harassment of my guest.
No, my friend. I'm saying that. Read the statement. And sometimes you have to be very...
So talking about statement, do you think sincerely, anybody who reads a statement will conclude that these people were up to something that could topple a government? One word, yes or no?
Yes, because they have
good. So these charges, and these are the charges that Joseph Akable brought to us. Yeah. Conspiracy to commit crime, manufacture of arms and ammunition without lawful authority. 2, conspiracy to commit crime, possession of explosives and firearms without lawful authority. 3, manufacture of firearms without lawful authority. 4, manufacture of explosive and ammunitions without lawful authority. 5, possession of explosives and firearms. If yes, anybody ideally reads a statement and thinks that these actions are to topple lawful authority vis-a-vis the presidency, this should not be the charges.
Okay, there's a very logical explanation for this. As we speak, there's a legal vacation, you know that, right? And the court that is sitting, the magistrate court that is sitting, has the capacity to listen to a certain
type
of cases. You know, this is unrivaling. This is a legal process, so that the liberties, right, and the rights of the so-called accused are not infringed upon. You activate a legal process, right, and then as the issues go along, cases and charges are amended all the time. You see, sometimes I worry a bit, and even some of my people call me Bukong. We have decided that we want to do this democracy thing. We can't pick and choose. There are certain aspects that we think that are expedient for us and throw the ones away. This is a legal process. Nothing untoward has happened. It's fully, clearly legitimate. The process has now been activated. Okay. Now, listen, if you so once I'm not a lawyer, but once the process has been activated, it will get to a point where even it can happen that the magistrate or the judge who is sitting on the matter right now would say that, well, it has to go to a higher court
Roland,
to be able to deal with the various issues.
This issue.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's been talking about 50 minutes.
More than that?
No, 5 minutes.
How?
But
Eric, how do you come to a minute?
So the point really is simple, that I think that it's imperative that the rights of the individuals who have been arrested and accused is respected. You have to go through a proper legal process. You cannot hold them for more than 48 hours.
I don't know whether you know that even when the court is on vacation, we have vacation judges.
Yes.
At every level.
Yes.
You know.
Yes,
I do. So if the government really meant, but he's finished.
He's trying to disrupt him. Right. I think that
Roland,
for me, again, this is it's an unfolding story. It's open and transparent for the whole entire world, basically, to see how this thing unravels. Again, the prosecution will bring its evidence out. The defense
will keep amending the charges
until
we get to the level of treason.
But nobody has, nobody has used the word treason. Nobody has used the word coup d'etat. And those words are coming from people who are basically interpreting and conjecturing.
Nobody is conjecturing. It's a statement made by your Minister of Information.
But did he use those words categorically?
He doesn't you don't need to use the word coup before you tell us that what you meant was coup. If you say destabilize the state, targeted at the presidency, what does it mean?
As far as I'm concerned, this government has shown its commitment
Eric,
go by the
for Christ's sake, we all read English language.
Okay.
Let me tell you this.
Please tell me.
Let me tell you this. I don't buy what Eric is saying. If the government intended to really, the government was convinced about the charges of subversion and threat to the peace of the, they would have done that and still gone to a competent court to have the case heard. Because even when the courts are on vacation, we have vacation judges who look at...
But I don't get you. The government, with all the security apparatus and intel that is at its disposal, knows what it wants to pick and choose, what to go forth with.
I said they started this thing, scaremongering, and when the reality fell on them, they decided to do what they are doing today.
All right.
They thought the Ghanaians were just going to, you know, the fear and panic. They tried to set an agenda. Unfortunately for them, the agenda has failed.
We have an official government spokesperson here. The minister too has denied, that's Kojo Ponkroma, that is not the essence of...
That was not the essence. Then why did he write that English?
What was communicated?
Then why did he write this English?
I listened to the president yesterday. He gave a great speech before the UN General Assembly about how we're focusing on eradicating poverty and also improving on our health, our education, and the growth of our environment through the use of appropriate technology, etc. And if you listen to the president, it looks like all the things that have been happening, a reflection of what he said. We're using the right sort of technologies, registering our people, trying to have a national database, trying to use all means to make sure that we access services. Agriculture, there's the planting for food and jobs. Education is improving at the level of the basic. Like we have a new national curricula at the senior high school level. Free SHS is giving more access, etc. I thought there could have been a better speech than this.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. The president...
Just 5 minutes, please.
Why do you want to restrict it? You give... let me go.
It's a new topic.
Let me say this. Very good. Just like President Trump of the US, delivering a good speech, which naturally do not reflect the intentions and the actions of the person delivering it. The president talked about so many issues, but let's ask ourselves, was it truthful? Was it accurate?
Why not?
Well, there's so many issues that we talk about. What has the government instead? The president talking about environment, for example. What is his government doing in order to make this country clean in terms of sanitation and environment management? What is he doing himself?
Great effort so far.
Which effort?
Which effort? Monitored the
Which effort? I've just come through that. I've just been through 4 regions of the country, and you see a catastrophic sanitation environment in those regions.
That's not fair.
I'm being frank with you. I'm being truthful.
Wants to make Africa
the president doesn't know what is happening. His people don't tell him the truth. The president should come to Accra. I will drive him myself to Takrady and take him to a landfill site for him to go and see what is happening in the western region. I will take him to Tamale. I will take him to Kumasi. And I will take him to Po to see what is happening. If he had seen those things before going to New York, he will have changed the tone of his speech. Those who wrote the speeches for that speech for the president, beautiful. They wrote a good speech that will let the whole world, let the president seem good, our country be good. But the reality, the truth is that all that glitters is not gold. You talk about access to education. Access to education where people are sleeping on the ground.
Which ground?
Go to the schools. People are sleeping on the floor.
Which schools? Which schools?
Oh, Roland, are you not in this country?
Just don't make a general statement.
Are you not in the country? Go to even Agri Memorial.
Are you sure?
I'm telling you.
I've been to Agri Memorial.
You're talking about free education, where students have now become tenants. In towns and villages, they never know. Their parents have to be commuting from Accra to Pandai, to Nankpanduri, to go and visit their children because 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds have become tenants. They are paying rent, they are paying water, they are paying electricity.
Are you paying any of those rent? Because I'm surprised
I'm paying for a lot of my constituents. I'm paying for a lot of my constituents. You are talking about free education, where the environment in the schools is suffering as a result of these numbers. You're talking about access, where people cannot have quality. When you talk about those things, you should also be able to tell us the flip side of the things he was talking about and say, we are working. I will have given him credit when he has said that we are working on mitigating these challenges besetting all these initiatives. But you can't create a picture like that and just leave it.
I don't see what, for example, the president said education was an area where technology ought to be employed to improve on the quality and expand access.
That's theory.
No. If you look at the new curriculum, in reality, you get to find that you're supposed to use the internet even in the teaching practice. I don't see.
Since when did we start talking about people using internet in classrooms? Since when did we introduce
this is the new
information technology in class?
No, this time.
How many schools have it?
It is
how many schools have it?
Of the teaching process.
I'm saying how many schools have it? How many students see those mouses?
No, you're an MP, so you should tell me.
So that the truth. I'm talking about reality here. I'm talking about reality. I'm not talking about, you know, those idealistic pictures that he painted yesterday. It's fine to tell the whole world everything looks good in the country, but the people have missions here, and they know what is happening. Recently, is it the UK ambassador or the US ambassador sat on a bicycle, went around the Upper East and Upper West region.
The UK.
Yeah.
The Ghana Grantor.
Thank you. And,
yes,
and he came back and he made comments about the things he saw, the difficulties he saw. So don't think that you can go and stand at the UN Assembly, General Assembly, and say all the good things about your country, and you don't think that people will have feedback from their missions here on the realities on the ground.
You have a minute more.
I would say that yes, it's good. Our president, if for once, what I would say is that presented himself very well, but he painted a picture that do not reflect the situation in the country. The poverty that he has created as a result of the millions of people who have lost jobs and they cannot feed their family. Just as he's done recently with the Rambo star taking over the Ghana Consolidated Diamond, when the case is in court, the impunity that has been exhibited by the security agent taking over something that has been given to a Ghanaian entity to revamp. I would say that, like Donald Trump, talking about patriotism and forgetting about the fact that this world and the civilization of this world has moved beyond individual selfish interest into a global interest. Our president talked about idealistic situation in the country, but forgot to tell the world about the realities we are facing here in Ghana.
Great speech. Great counter speech. I don't know what to say.
You see, I'm struggling to really appreciate my senior brother here. This is a UN General Assembly speech.
Actually, I don't expect you to appreciate it.
Yes, and the president did fantastic. And he had a team, which was basically harnessing multilateral efforts to alleviate poverty and the climate and all of those things. So there was a team for the speech. And you can't sit here and say that this president hasn't done work in terms of saving our environment. You can drive around the country right now and 3-4 years down the line before, look at the state of our river bodies in this country. This whole idea of putting a stop on illegal mining, which we called galamsey. It's either oblivious or you're just feigning ignorance that some work.
The recent coalition,
some work. Let me finish. I was very quiet.
They just come out. I was very quiet with a statement on it.
5 minutes.
I was very quiet when you were speaking.
Me and him, this
some work has gone into ensuring that our water bodies, and that's a key feature when it comes to an environmental climatic conversation, right?
And what is the result?
Yeah, but there's been
tremendous
evidence. Yes,
Where?
You can go to the communities. He's trying to stop it.
I'm just coming from.
Now, the president also made mention of the fact that for us to alleviate poverty, education historically has been the only way that you're able to create a certain level of social mobility where people are moved from a certain strata to the next level, and that we have done.
But Nii Lante
but he can say that, you see,
and that team of
but he can discount.
They're worried about how that has a downside of quality.
That you see, middle class people and posh people, I'm sure I'm going to get into trouble for this, would always find a reason to discount this.
Your community.
I went to listen. I went to secondary school in 1987. Half of the things that we are talking about or more, congestion, lack of bed mites, and everything, water,
was normal.
Existed then.
Oh.
I'm just using. Yes, existed then. However,
I was in the second year in the university
you
then,
see,
so.
I always say that the issues with our either second cycle or education can never be as a result of free SHS. It has been an issue that systemically we haven't been able to, one, look at the numbers that are coming and dealing with it. But free SHS, as we speak, 1.2 million young Ghanaians have had an opportunity. And you see, when people say that the numbers, I keep asking them, where would all these new additions to the second cycle education, where would they have been? And you're saying that,
for 3 years of secondary school.
Yes.
Would have been either home on the streets.
Exactly. And so it's okay for you to sit here and discount. And there are people within my community that hitherto in Abompe, in the eastern region, right, who, where I come from, right, where once you finish GSS, or back in the days when you finish the middle school living thing, that's it. Generations upon generations, nobody has had an opportunity to go to secondary school.
We don't have people.
We do. Again, so for me, for the president to say that, it's a very equitable distribution of the resources that we have as a country.
1 more minute added of interjection.
To support people to move out of poverty. President spoke about primary health care. Listen, we know that in the last 20 years or so, we used to do what we call cash and carry. And sometimes, you see, because they are quick to sort of bastardize the president and the conversation that he's having, this is a country that, over the period, has decided to institute what we call the national health insurance. You can have all the issues with it, but hitherto, if you are a parent and you have a child in the middle of the night who was sick and you didn't have any money in your pocket, our mothers used to call that aboso, the child would die. We have a primary health care system that is not probably. Let me finish. Listen.
Should I educate you later on that?
Which will not be perfect under any circumstances, but has brought tremendous impact, positive, to millions and millions of Ghanaians, right? Finally, President spoke about trade and said that, listen, the global capitalist economic environment is a bit of, if you like, a negative, because what happens is that the trade regulations and everything is not in favor of African countries. So we should create an environment where we'll trade amongst ourselves so that it would also take these African countries and not developing countries out of it. And then he spoke
financial sector has been down. So
he spoke about the African Continental Free Trade.
Lending to the sector
all of those
will
things
enable us produce a goods to do all of those things in the continental and African
are necessary for us to be able to, one, sanitize our financial sector, make it stronger, inject capital to make it so that they'll be able to do the same thing that we are talking about. Yeah. So for me, as a member of parliament and as a citizen of this country and a patriot, when your president goes to the UN General Assembly and talks about all of this, and there's not a single one of them that you'd say that he actually said that wasn't true. That, again, does not mean that we don't have challenges in this country, but it's an opportunity for us to also say that we've come a very long way. He spoke about technology, financial inclusion. Listen, I was one of the first people who went into mobile money, fintech technology 10, 12 years ago, right? The people that we said that were even going to use it, they're not the ones who are using it today, right? Where somebody lives in Baku somewhere and is able to trade with somebody in Agbogbloshi so that they get their yam. All of those things, you can discount it. But this is just over a period of 10 years. And you have a government that would create the enabling environment, the attitude, we have interoperability. Yes, but he didn't take personal credit for it. He just said that these are the strides we have made. This is the sort of support that we require.
The downside.
No, but that was not a platform. That was not a platform for him to be discussing.
He wasn't being accurate and truthful.
Is in recession.
There's no merit in what you're saying that the financial sector is down. Listen, you have to ask him, how would you pretend, right, supervise a financial sector that as far back as 2014, based on even your own recommendations, you spoke about recapitalizing. There's a Bolt's report that suggested that the things that you even said that you would do in terms of making sure that forestalling that.
The shareholders
exactly. And so for you to now, a government comes and has essentially the kahunas, the other one is too early this morning.
Kahunas.
Yeah, but I would have used another.
Kahunas.
Yeah, to be a conviction.
Kahuna.
Right?
Conviction.
To say that, listen, we will take these hard decisions, sanitize the environment, and make sure that 1.4 million Ghanaians would have their deposits protected. Yeah. That is a government.
I have to end the conversation, though, but...
you see, Roland,
let's try and wrap up some of it.
I have said that this MPP government, they live in another world.
I don't understand you.
They're not living in the reality. They're not living the reality of the time.
Enjoying free SHS?
It's 1.2 million people enjoying free SHS.
Yes.
Let me say this. What is free SHS? I'm asking, what is free SHS?
Free senior high school education.
And who said we're not having? Look, education in this country since generation have been free. Tuition has always been free in this country. So what are you talking about free education? So what are you talking about free education? I just want you to know. John Dramani Mahama. Thank you, John Dramani Mahama reduced financial burden on parents.
But
John Dramani Mahama reduced financial burden on
watching you.
Let me tell you, I said John Dramani Mahama.
Even the 34 Ghana cedis for the days, they couldn't pay. They were in arrears when we came. Did you pay?
Are you not arrears? Are you not arrears with the schools?
Oh, come on.
This government is in arrears of the schools. They've not been paying money. The subvention that is supposed to go to Charles has not gone. So what are you talking about arrears?
Kids to school and they didn't pay anything.
I'm saying
that is what is called free.
Who said?
What did they pay?
Look, I have a parent who is today paying rent.
Where?
For the son in Pandai.
Oh, but what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the fact that you've created, you deceive people saying that.
But where would that child have gone to school?
You've changed enrollment for 90% day students.
How?
I'm telling you, go and check. 90% day.
Where are you getting the statistic?
90% of the 439,000 are day students.
90% day.
90% of the 439,000 that went to school, or the 1.2 million.
How many of them are in
secondary school?
How many of them are in body?
Tell me.
I'm telling you.
No, but he said
I've said 90%. If you have
all the 1.2 million,
if you have changed
in previous are in day school.
I can't verify this.
It is not true.
Go and verify. I said if you have close to 200 students going to a school and you end up almost 150 of them in the particular year becoming day students, what are you talking about?
We're talking about 1.2 million.
I'm saying that if you change the formula and make 90%
nobody has changed any
in order for you to maximize and create the impression that the parents whose children are and rented a premises are not enjoying free SHS.
All right. You were saying something about Great Consolidated Diamond.
Yes.
I thought the time is
the way
the time is up.
Eric's people have used.
Eric's
people use the invisible forces.
You don't believe in the rule of law anymore.
You don't. You don't have any respect for the judiciary. You wouldn't, when the case is in court, you won't arrest the case by sending invisible forces and data forces to go and take over an institution that government has duly and legally divested.
Have you seen a DIC report?
What are the DIC
Have you seen the report? You see, one of the issues is in court. You are not even meant to be discussing the thing. But you see,
so you know that the issue is in court, and then you went
but the thing
in the Rambo style, took over the place.
Listen. You see, there's an offer letter that gave the offer.
But there's a contract too.
Yes, you understand? But there's an offer letter that states categorically clause 1, clause 2, clause 3.
So why don't you go to court if you think the person has breached the offer letter? Why don't you go to court?
No, but the thing is that
why do you use this Rambo style, this impunity to take over?
Rambo style? You see, when you do this, and then I have to go back and then refer it, and then
yes,
he will say that it's equalization. I'm saying that. Listen,
did you ever hear the NDC government doing anything like that?
For me, even toilets.
Disrespecting the courts?
Even toilets is seized.
Oh, but that one, you are the worst offender. It started in 2001.
But most of you do it.
I said it started in 2001. It started in 2001, if you don't know.
I feel
because I have more in my
I feel that, again, I don't have too much information on this particular issue. Okay. Right, but I don't see the point of saying that there's a Rambo-style takeover.
Now, what
I didn't see that. That's not what happened.
You didn't see.
Now, listen.
You didn't see.
If it's contentious, you see, the thing is that nothing is lost. If it's contentious and the issue is in court, I don't think that the legal rights.
But you've heard the Director General of the State Interests.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That I've also seen a DIC offer letter, right, and even an acceptance, and monies that were meant to have been paid. I mean, for the whole agreement to have come into being, and even a suggestion that an undertaking should be made to say that if that monies are not paid, government or DIC will take over the entity, repossess without even them having recourse.
But that's why the company.
But that's where there's a contention. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That let's allow the process to.
But
why do you need to allow the process to go?
I'll tell you, you were under trade, for instance. Yes. There's a similar case that is brewing even under this Ayesu thing, where I was privy to a meeting where even the workers and even the what do you call it? The workers, the farmers, the cassava farmers have to come and petition the trade ministry and are pushing for the same thing. So there are issues that we can deal with. I don't think that it's when these things happen, you shouldn't essentially try to score cheap points.
I'm not doing that. I'm talking about the impunity.
You were responsible for essentially divesting that asset without making sure that they actually go by the tenets of what they signed. You were responsible for that.
I'm saying that.
You understand? And there's so many. It's not just that.
I'm saying that if we were responsible and we didn't make the person do that, you have every right to recourse to law.
Exactly.
Go to the court. Go to the court. But you don't get up and use municipal forces and Delta forces to go and take over.
There's nothing like that. There's nothing like that.
But who did it?
There's nothing like that.
Let me tell you, the professionally trained police and the soldiers of this country wouldn't have done what you did.
So you're now speculating?
I'm not speculating.
But you say
tell me that it's not a visible force.
Nii Lante van der Poel is a member of parliament for the Odio constituency, talking about the Great Consolidated Diamond Limited, its interests, and subsequently the forceful takeover by SIGA.
We had like forceful.
Okay. Eric Chum says there's nothing
like forceful.
You did it with finesse.
And Eric Chum is a member of government's communication
when you
team,
invade courts,
and also has been here. And thank you, gentlemen, for being here. We also know that Joseph Akable has a whole story on the subject, and it's ready. We'll bring you up to speed with the latest as well.